Every player is trying to get the best edge they can possibly get. And the wide variety of profiles and customization and automation and consistency that Elite offers just gives every single player absolutely any tool that they need to succeed at the highest level.
There is nothing more important than being able to trust your blades.
It's all I've ever wanted was to have that player go out there and feel the same every single time. And then to have the ability to make a change when there's something that a player doesn't like or doesn't feel right in. And now I feel with this system, there's no better way. I mean, this is what I've been looking for years.
Being able to maintain that profile and offer profiling to the players that they could keep throughout the life of their blade, being able to offer the players something to make them better was the reason why we felt the Elite system was something we had to do.
I think the player's expectation with custom skates is that they hit the ice and everything's perfect. And one of the issues is we can make a perfect boot and a really good holder and put good steel in it. But if the profile and sharpen isn't perfect, it sort of wrecks the experience.
Help our players a great deal, I think. Once we get a player comfortable in a profile, once we get them dialed in, you don't even have to think about his steel anymore.
As a player, being able to play with profiles and dial in a radius is critical. But being able to trust that it's going to be reproduced time and again, so the only thing that you have to worry about is performance, is paramount.
I never believed in profiling. And profiling, I think, can be very important for the players, and it actually has turned out to be correct. But in the past, you profiled a skate, then you sharpened it 5 times, and the profile was gone. So I didn't buy in. Why do all this work if I'm just going to ruin it after 5 sharpenings?
Profiling changes within 1 to 2 sharpenings, right? And unless you're reprofiling all the time, which no one really has time to do in the NHL season, you can't change. You're changing the profile without the guy even skating on the same thing consistently week after week.
Hand sharpening, and I mean this with all respect and sincerity, is never the same. There's so much inconsistency.
Consistency. I mean, that's what we've all been looking for. Consistency, consistency, consistency.
Well, the best thing I could say is consistency.
They want the exact same feeling every single time they step on any sheet of ice.
It's consistency. That's the main thing we want to do for our players, be consistent.
One of the things that I've learned over the many years is how important consistency is with the sharpening, coming out and always having that same edge, same depth, same hollow, and without changing or modifying the profile that's already existing on the blade.
I think the consistency and the performance of the sharpenings is going to be greatly improved and benefit our players in the long run.
we've been working with the Elite Blade Customization Center. That's what we call it here. We use their profile and their sharpener, and it's a service that we do on all of our custom skates to make them as good as possible.
So the profiler for me is a quick, easy win for any equipment manager. The fact that you can do two sets of blades at once, they come out consistent every single time. It's without a doubt the best profiler on the market.
We're just running so many sets of steel now compared to before that we need a machine that can give us the consistency and the time savings to get our job done.
I knew we were definitely onto something here, and I've said it many times. You will never see me stand behind a traditional skate sharpener ever again for a lot of reasons.
I was doing my last game skates, and I had like 2 or 3 guys. They had like deep nicks on the skates. So I just put both skates there. I entered like 8 passes, and I went to do something else. Came back, skates are done.
It's an amazing time savings. I can't come up with another idea even that would save me more time in our job.
And our belief, automation is where skate sharpening is going. And for us to take the next step in skate sharpening technology, Elite was a natural fit for us. After speaking with our peers in the NHL, teams that have used Elite skate sharpening, without a doubt, every single one of them said they would absolutely never go back to the traditional form of skate sharpening.
But I always knew there could be something better and more precise. As an equipment guy, that's the one thing you hold on to. It's the one thing you do and you hope better than the next guy is hand sharpen. It is something that you hold dear to your heart. It's a skill that you own, that you like to think you're the best at, or you do a little better than another guy, and you're forfeiting that. Don't get me wrong. You're letting that go, and I could be wrong, but I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle for some of the guys because they own that. That's their thing. But that's what I've turned profiling into. I've turned the ability to use the consistency of the Elite system into something now I can build my personal knowledge of profiling and being able to communicate with the players.
Yeah, I'm a guy that has a foot in the old and a foot in the new, and I know what it is to sharpen 100 pair of skates in a day by hand and how much work it is. But one thing I can tell you is with the automated machines, one thing that I'll bring back again is the consistency.
I've been using Elite skate sharpening for the past 5 years, and honestly, I wouldn't go back for any kind of money in the world.
Not only would I recommend Elite to other teams, I've recommended them to every team that's walked in the door.
When I give the skates back to the player, this is the best I could do for them. No doubt about it.
As the head equipment manager for the Maple Leafs, I'm basically in charge of anything and everything to do with all the players' equipment, or to Scotiabank Arena and to anywhere on the road that we may practice and or play. Player skate blades are actually one of the most important pieces of equipment, if not the most important piece of equipment for all of our players. What we strive for with all of our skate blades for all players is consistency. The same thing when the player touches the ice for any practice, any game, anytime they're on the ice, it's the exact same feeling no matter what the conditions are. What we do is set up each of our players with 14 sets of blades. 14 is a great number for us to get through an entire season without the profile, which is the geometry of the blade, changing, and also gives us enough blades when we go on a road trip that players can switch freely, consistently, all the time, and have the same feeling every time they step on the ice. And we do that for every single player within our organization. We give players different options if they want to change, or if they're coming from another team and already on a certain profile, we put them back on that same profile within the Elite Blade Performance System. And that gives our players, I think, a firm advantage in the National Hockey League. So the Elite system on the ES4, for example, when you put a new pair of skate blades on, it'll do a teaching pass and see the geometry of the blade. It will understand what the shape of the blade is and provide enough speed and pressure to sharpen that blade exactly precisely. And that goes for every single set of blade that goes on the ES4. So we're able to do this very quickly, change a profile, add new blades into the system. Any profile that is out there can be reproduced. They have a massive catalog of profiles, and which our players use a wide variety of those. We're searching for consistency, and when we rotate through our 14 sets, our players never feel a difference from set to set. The human error has been removed, and the finished product is like no other. Elite has been a complete game changer for us. It's been one of our best decisions, and this has just put everything to bed, and players know they're getting exactly what they're getting every time they step on the ice.
Hi, my name is JP O'Connor. I'm the Director of Pro Sales for Elite Blade Performance. Today I want to talk to you about performance profiling, which is the process of custom shaping a skate blade to optimize a player's performance. As a former pro player myself, I know that everyone is looking for any edge they can get to help them play better. Doesn't matter if you play in the NHL or your local beer league. Dialing in your blade profile to meet your demands is one of the easiest things that you can do to improve your performance and help you feel great on the ice. There's been a lot more talk about profiling lately, and sometimes it can be a bit daunting. In this video, I'm going to take a bit of the mystery out of it, help you understand why profiling can help your game, and also share with you some information on Elite's latest custom profiles that we're pretty excited about. So let's start by introducing some basic concepts. First, the bottom of a skate blade is not flat, it's curved. The curve's necessary to allow it to turn on the ice and to let the skater access different parts of the blade. Second, that curve is actually traditionally described as a radius expressed in feet or meters. Picture a very large circle. A skate blade will take a very small section of that circle and use it as the shape of the bottom of the blade. The longer the radius of that circle, the flatter that small section of the circle will be. Most stock skates come with a single curve along the effective skating surface, what we call a monoradius. Most stock blades come with either a 9-foot or a 10-foot monoradius curve. Now, in the game of hockey, we look for many things from our steel. We want agility. We want the ability to turn quickly and maneuver in tight spaces. We need explosion and acceleration in our first few strides. We want maximum speed and efficiency when we're skating at top speed, but we also want stability when we're battling other players or holding turns at high speed. The problem is that many of these attributes are in opposition to one another. The shape of the blade that you would want to maximize agility, for example, is the opposite shape of what you would want for stability. Now, this is the key point to take away from this. As long as we stay in the world of a monoradius curve, or in other words, a stock blade, we're stuck in a zero-sum game. Meaning, whatever attributes we gain on one side come at the cost to the attributes on the other side. Does that make sense? Here's an example of how this works. Let's use a speed skate with its completely flat blade, tons of steel on the ice. It's incredibly fast and stable, but it can't turn and certainly can't stop. A figure skate with its much more curved blade and much less steel in contact with the ice is fantastically maneuverable, but it's unstable and it lacks top speed. So as long as a blade stays with a single radius curve, you're always trading off between these extremes. So let's take a stock blade. Now let's say we shorten that radius to 8 foot, meaning the blade is more curved and less blade is in contact with the ice. With this blade, you would be agile as hell and have great acceleration for the first few strides, but you would lose out massively on top speed and stability. Now, go the other direction. Let's say we lengthen that 10-foot radius to 12 feet and make the curve flatter, putting more steel on the ice. That blade would cruise beautifully and be really stable, but more heavy to move around and slow to get started. So the whole idea behind performance profiling is to strategically use multiple radius curves to fully optimize both sides of the equation. This lets us put more blade in the ice in some areas, which gives us top speed and stability and efficiency, and less in other areas, which boosts the agility and the explosiveness that is so vital in our game. Let's be crystal clear. Performance profiling doesn't mean there are no trade-offs to be made. Different profile families will still put more emphasis on agility, others on power and stability, but the strategic use of multiple curves let us maximize certain attributes while minimizing the cost to others. Also, very importantly, by moving these radius curves around in different combinations, we can produce profiles which perfectly fit particular skating style and natural balance point of a player. There's been many formulas tried over the years, but we see pretty much all these efforts fitting into two broad families of profiles, what we call heel glide profiles and center glide profiles. In heel glide profiles, as the name implies, the blade is actually flattened from the middle of the foot backwards towards the heel. So instead of a stock radius of 10 foot, you might have a 12 or a 13 or a 14-foot radius, or sometimes even flatter still. Now this puts lots of steel on the ice and gives the blade excellent glide characteristics and stability. But as we said before, if we use that flat radius the whole length of the blade, the performance would become very heavy and unresponsive. So heel glide profiles lighten up the front part of the blade with shorter radius curves to preserve the agility and the explosiveness of the whole package. There's variations of heel glide profiles, and they're all produced by different manufacturers, including duos and triples and quads, but they all share the same common characteristic of starting out comparatively curved or rockered in the front and becoming flatter towards the back of the blade. And as you might expect, they all tend to give some feeling of a forward pitch, more or less depending on the specific formula used. The other broad family of performance profiles are what we call the center glide profiles. So here, an area of blade under the middle of the foot is flattened out to provide more contact with the ice surface for power, glide, stability, while towards the toe and the heel is more curved or rockered to preserve the explosiveness and the agility. Compared to heel glide profiles, center glide profiles tend to feel more neutral in pitch and balance. Within each of these profile families, there's all kinds of recipes which produce subtly different feels. Some are built with shorter radius curves and feel lighter and more agile, and some, they use flatter curves and lean toward a more solid and powerful feel. But the fundamental difference in balance points is consistent. Heel glides with the glide section further back and some feeling of a forward pitch. Center glides with the glide section more midfoot and a more neutral balance. And our profile testing with hundreds of pros and elite skaters has shown us that most players have a natural preference for one family or the other. Elite offers extensive selections of profiles in both heel glide and center glide families, but we're most excited about two designs in particular. We're excited to share that we just released a brand new heel glide profile, the Polaris, which is generating lots of excitement among pro and amateur players who've had the chance to try it out. The Polaris is a quad, but with a twist. Traditional quads move from the most curved radius in the front through progressively flatter sections towards the back of the blade. Now, by contrast, the Polaris flattens out progressively through the first three sections, but then it eases off slightly near the heel. We call the Polaris the evolution of the quad because it's got all the great power and stability of a traditional quad, but with significant gains in agility and freedom of movement. We also have a proprietary center glide profile, which we think is very exciting, but has been also widely adopted by players at the NHL and professional levels as the go-to center glide profile. The SCS family uses multiple wide radius curves and smooth transitions in the midfoot area to create a long, stable base, which produces great speed and power. The areas towards the toe and the heel are significantly more curved than a stock blade, giving the whole blade exceptional agility and acceleration. Elite offers the SCS-1 and the SCS-2, and the differences between them are subtle. Both have identical curves in the midfoot area and offer identical top speed and glide. The SCS-1 has more curved sections in the toe and the heel and absolutely maxes out the agility. The SCS-2 has slightly less curved toe and heel sections and a bit more stable, but overall still remains a very agile profile. So let's come back to our standard 10-foot mono blade where you're playing the compromise game. This is a decent middle-of-the-road profile. It isn't optimized for agility and acceleration. It's okay. It isn't optimized for top speed and stability, but again, it's okay. You know who's not okay? You, the elite player. You'd never want your results to be described as okay. I know from having spoken to players before my time, I know how I felt. And I know from seeing and speaking with many of you that we are all our own worst critics and that okay doesn't sit well with us. Performance profiles like the popular SCS family and the evolution of the quad and the Polaris family, they add more to your blades, more agility, more power, more stability in whatever combination suits you the best. At the professional level, you have access to profiling and the best equipment managers in the world who can help you dial in your customized blade recipe. Your profile is out there, and if you haven't already, I'd encourage you to find it. I hope this video has been a helpful resource, but for more information, please consult your equipment manager or our website for complete profile descriptions and rankings, or contact us if you have any questions. I'll see you around the rinks.